Neil could trace the exact moment things started to feel wrong. It wasn't some huge fight or dramatic scene. It was a Saturday morning, about 6 months ago, when he walked into the living room with 2 mugs of coffee and found Kathy on the couch, phone tilted away from him, thumb flying over the screen. "Hey," he'd said, grinning, "one cappuccino for my favorite human." She looked up, smiled a little too quickly, then locked her phone and put it face down. "Thanks," she'd replied, taking the mug. "You're sweet." He'd noticed the way the screen went dark first. Then he'd noticed how often it started happening after that. At first, he told himself it was nothing. You don't survive 3 years together if you freak out over every locked phone and late reply. They'd moved in after a year of dating, picked out furniture together, argued about wall colors, opened a joint account for groceries and bills. They had a rhythm, inside jokes, a shared Netflix list that was embarrassingly long. But over the next few weeks, something in that rhythm shifted. She started going to bed earlier or later, always slightly out of sync with him. Date nights became "I'm tired" nights. When he reached for her under the sheets, she'd turn and murmur, "Not tonight, babe, I'm just exhausted." At first he believed it. Work had been rough on her. New manager, new project. He picked up more chores, cooked more dinners, tried to make things easier. But the intimacy that had once felt effortless now seemed to require a meeting, a schedule, and a miracle. Conversations shrank. "How was your day?" became "fine." Plans for the weekend became, "I don't know, I might be busy." He'd find her sitting at the dining table, headphones in, watching something on her laptop, phone buzzing beside her, with a steady stream of messages. "Who's blowing up your phone?" he'd joked once, trying to keep his voice light. She slid the phone into her hoodie pocket. "Just group chats, you know how it is." He did know. Group chats could be noisy. Work chats, family chats, memes at odd hours. He told himself not to be that guy, the paranoid boyfriend, the one who turns every ping into a conspiracy. But slowly, the red flags started stacking up. More late nights at the office, more weekend errands that didn't include him, the way she kept her phone on her person constantly now, even when they were just watching TV, the way she tilted it away from him on reflex, like hiding a secret had become muscle memory. He tried to talk to her, gently at first. "Hey," he said one evening as they sat at opposite ends of the couch scrolling through their own worlds, "do you feel like we've drifted a bit lately?" She didn't look up. "Drifted how?" "I don't know," he said. "We used to talk more, go out. It just feels like we're roommates who occasionally share a pizza." She sighed, finally setting her phone down. "You're overthinking," she said. "It's just a busy phase. Work is insane. I'm tired. It's not always about you, Neil." The last sentence stung more than he expected. He swallowed it. "Okay," he said softly. I miss you." She leaned over, gave him a quick peck on the cheek, already reaching for her phone again. "We're fine. Don't stress." He tried not to stress. But stress has a way of building up in small, invisible layers until one day you look around and realize you're carrying a wall. The wall cracked the night his friend Sam called. "Dude, are you home?" Sam asked, voice low and weirdly careful. "Yeah," Neil said, glancing at the time. Kathy had texted an hour earlier. "Late meeting, don't wait up." "What's up?" I'm downtown. At that new place on 5th, Alchemy. I just saw Kathy." "Nice," Neil said, confused. "Did you say hi?" There was a pause. Neil, she wasn't alone. A cold weight dropped into his stomach. Okay, he said calmly. So what, work thing? Another pause, longer this time. Man, I'm not trying to stir anything, but this didn't look like work. She's with some guy. They're at the bar. They're close, like touching close. He stared at the blank TV screen in front of him. His reflection looked back. Tired eyes, hoodie, the small confidence of someone who assumed their relationship, if not perfect, was at least solid. He asked if he could be mistaken, already knowing the answer. I wish I was, Sam said gently. I can send a photo if you want, but I didn't want to be sneaky without telling you. Neil let out a breath he didn't remember holding. No, he said quickly. Don't take pictures. Thanks for telling me. Are you okay? Sam asked. I don't know, Neil replied. They hung up. For a long time, Neil just sat there, hands open on his knees, feeling like the floor beneath him had shifted a few inches to the left. The first urge that rose in him was volcanic. Grab the keys, drive downtown, walk into that bar and see for himself. He stood, took one step toward the door, and stopped. What exactly would that accomplish? A fight in public? Tears, denials, maybe a carefully rehearsed story, maybe the truth, thrown at him like a grenade. Either way, once he crossed that line, the rest of his life would rearrange itself. He sank back on the couch. For the first time in his life, he did something that felt completely out of character for him. He decided not to react immediately. Instead, he decided to plan. Over the next few days, he watched, quietly. He noticed how often she was working late now. He noticed the new dress that appeared in his closet that he didn't wear around him. He noticed the way she smiled at her phone, a soft curve of the mouth he hadn't seen aimed his way in months. He didn't snoop through her messages. He didn't install apps or plant trackers. The point wasn't to gather enough evidence to win an argument. The point was to accept what he already knew. Something had broken, and she wasn't choosing him. And if she wasn't choosing him, he needed to choose himself. He met with his bank, quietly moved his savings into a separate account with only his name on it. They didn't own the apartment. It was on a lease in his name, something they'd always meant to sort out later. Later never came, which turned out to be a small mercy. He canceled the extra card on his credit line that she rarely used but had access to. He updated passwords on his own accounts, the way any person should, but rarely does until they have a reason. He kept their routines going on the surface. They still split groceries, still discussed what to watch, still existed in the same space, orbiting each other with the distance of two planets whose gravitational fields no longer aligned. One evening, about 2 weeks after Sam's call, she came home earlier than usual. She didn't greet him with the usual distracted, "Hey." She dropped her bag, stood in the doorway, and looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read, some mix of guilt, resolve, and anger. "We need to talk," she said. The cliché landed heavily between them. "Okay," Neil replied, setting his phone down. His heart started pounding, but his voice stayed even. He'd rehearsed this moment in his head too many times to count. She sat at the edge of the armchair, elbows on her knees, hands clenched. "I'm moving out," she said. There it was. No preamble, no cushioning. He nodded once. "All right." She blinked, thrown off by his lack of visible shock. "That's it?" she said. "You're not even going to ask why?" "I have a pretty good idea why," he said quietly. Her eyes flashed. "You've been distant for months," she said. "You never listen. You're always on your own planet. I feel like I've been alone in this relationship for a long time." He let the words hang there. In another universe, he might have rushed to defend himself, point out the nights he'd waited up, the conversations he'd tried to start. But he could see the way she was lining her arguments up, building a story where she was leaving a neglectful partner, not a stable one, for someone else. "I'm sorry you felt alone," he said. It was true, even if it wasn't the whole picture. She took a breath, seemed relieved to have a script to follow. "I can't do this anymore, Neil," she said. "I need something else. Someone who—" He held up a hand. "Kathy, it's okay. You don't need to justify it to me." She frowned. "Of course I do. I don't want you to go around telling people I'm the bad guy. You can be petty sometimes." He almost laughed at that. "I'm not going to tell people anything you don't show them yourself," he said. Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" He met her gaze steadily. "I know about the other guy," he said. "I know about the late nights and the meetings and the bar on Fifth." Color drained from her face and then came rushing back, blotchy and bright. "Were you spying on me?" she snapped. "Going through my phone?" "No," he replied. "I didn't have to. A friend saw you, and I've been living here too. I can tell when the person I love checks out." For a moment, the anger peeled back, and he saw something like panic. She said quickly, "You don't understand. It's not like that. You pushed me away. You made me feel unwanted. Major Hess, he listened." "Major," Neil repeated. The name felt ridiculous on his tongue, like something out of a bad novel. She straightened, defensive. "He makes me feel seen, respected. I deserve to be happy, Neil. And if you make this messy, I swear to God I will tell everyone you are controlling and emotionally abusive. People believe women. Just don't make me go there." He stared at her for a long moment, not surprised by the threat, but by how little it hurt now that he'd already seen this side of her. "Kathy, I'm not going to fight with you, but I want you to know something." She crossed her arms. "What?" "I already moved my money. The lease is in my name, so I'll handle the apartment. I've talked to a lawyer about what could happen if you tried to accuse me of anything I didn't do." Her expression flickered. You talked to a lawyer?" "Yes," he said. "I'm not going to attack you, but I'm also not going to let you burn my life down to justify your choices." For the first time since she'd walked in, she looked unsure. "So what, you're kicking me out?" "No," he said. "You just told me you're moving out. I'm agreeing with you." Silence. It felt strange, how calm he was. Months of confusion, hurt, and second-guessing had burned away into something quieter, acceptance, not of what she'd done, but of who she was showing herself to be. She stood up abruptly. "Fine," she said. "I'll be out by the end of the week." He nodded once. "Let me know if you need boxes." She glared at him as if offended by his politeness, then stormed into the bedroom. Drawers opened and closed. The closet door banged. Somewhere under the noise, something between them settled into its final shape. Over the next few days, they coexisted like strangers in an airport, sharing space, but not conversation. She packed clothes, chargers, small bits of herself he hadn't realized she'd brought into his life in the first place. He kept out of his way. He slept on the couch. On Thursday night, she left with the last of her bags. No big goodbye, no tears. Just a short, clipped bye, and a door closing behind her. The apartment felt impossibly quiet. He let it. It was 2 weeks later when Sam called again. "You're not going to believe this," Sam said. "At this point, try me," Neil replied. "You remember Major?" Sam asked. How could I forget? Neil said. Turns out, Sam said, savoring it a little too much, the guy's married. Like, fully married. 2 kids. Saw a post from some mutual in the city. His wife did one of those long, messy rants about homewreckers and lying husbands, tagged him, tagged Kathy too. Neil closed his eyes for a second. Not out of pleasure, not out of vindication, but out of a tired, sad understanding of how predictable some patterns were. Is she okay? He asked, surprising himself. I don't know, Sam said. You talked to her? No, Neil said, and I don't plan to. He did hear from her eventually, a short message that popped up on his phone one evening, just as he was about to go to bed. Hey, I heard you might know about Major. I'm so sorry about everything. Can we talk? He stared at the screen for a long time. There was a version of him not so long ago who would have jumped at the chance, who would have thought, this is my opening. We can fix this. We can go back. But that version of him had died in increments every time she'd turned away, every time she'd blamed him for the distance she was creating, every time she'd chosen secrecy over simple honesty. He typed slowly. I do know. I'm sorry you're going through that, but I can't do this again. I wish you the best. Please don't contact me anymore. He hit send before he could overthink it. A typing bubble appeared, disappeared. Nothing followed. Neil put his phone down, turned off the light, and lay back on the bed that now felt too big and at the same time exactly the right size. He wasn't okay. Not yet. There would be lonely nights, second guesses, moments when he'd miss the way things used to be. Healing was never a straight line. But he felt something he hadn't felt in months, a thin, fragile thread of self-respect, stretching out in front of him like a path. Neil hadn't chosen what Kathy did. He hadn't chosen the lies, the threats, the way she tried to rewrite the story to make herself seem better in it. But he'd chosen, finally, how to respond. And he'd chosen himself.